Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite makeup subjects, which is base makeup. And I love bases because my skin has changed quite a bit since I first started YouTube about 6 years ago. I also have experienced acne, discoloration, melasma, scarring, all sorts of things, and my taste in makeup has changed as well. There are so many factors that makes a foundation really worthwhile to me. And for the most part, many of you guys have probably already seen that I'm obsessed with Dior's Cushion. It's actually not a foundation. This is a tinted skincare product. It's the Dream Skin Perfect Skin Cushion. I use this in the shade 20. I wear this baby almost every day. It's my favorite. This is, again, a tinted skincare product. It probably has maybe as much coverage as a tinted moisturizer. So that's why I'm not going to talk about this today, because most of you know by now how much I love it. But the cushion that I will show you on my bare skin today is this Sulwhasoo Perfecting Cushion in the brightening version. I actually don't use the one that comes in the ivory case anymore, just this one in white. And I wanted to feature this one because finally Sulwhasoo has started to pay more attention to the American market, and they've released 2 more shades, 25 and I believe 30 or 31. But they are significantly darker, and 25 is the perfect match for my skin tone. So I'm going to show you how I apply this cushion with my concealer, with powder, and that way you get an idea of what my skin looks like on an everyday basis. You can go from sheer to medium to full coverage with this one product, which is why I find it so versatile. It comes with a sponge, so it's easy to apply. I highly recommend this one if you are in the market for a cushion. And I know some of you guys don't like this kind of Korean-inspired technology, so I'm going to talk to you about traditional foundations. As I always say, different strokes for different folks. So I'm going to start with the sheerest and end with the full coverage foundations. This is the most natural in coverage considering it is a real foundation. This is the Koh Gen Do Moisture Foundation in 113. It comes in a travel-friendly tube and it feels so creamy going on. It actually does feel like a really rich tinted moisturizer, but it's not. It's a foundation and it looks incredible on camera. It looks like you're not wearing anything. So this is high definition makeup. It feels so good on the skin. It's perfect for normal to dry skin. But this looks extremely, extremely natural, and concealer is definitely necessary when using this product. Now for my favorite dewy foundation, this is Makeup Forever's Water Blend. This is a waterproof foundation. I love this stuff. It works really well in the summer. I think it is an incredible formula. I know some people love it or hate it because it does dry down almost in a tacky, viscous manner that I think is a little bit tricky to work with, but that's why with this formula, I always use my hands and I work very quickly. Now, I can use 305 on its own, but my forehead, as I've mentioned before, is a complete whole shade darker than this section of my face, and that's totally normal according to my esthetician because we drive, we're walking. If you don't wear a hat, you don't wear sunscreen regularly. This is from years of abuse during high school, and I ran cross country without wearing sunscreen. So it is normal to have to mix and match your shades. I know it's a detriment when you're shopping for an expensive foundation and you're like, oh, I have to buy 2, but at the end of the day, you can match with foundation, or you could just simply add more bronzer. It's up to you. I like to have, you know, more versatility and have options. So that's why I have Y405 for my forehead and Y305, which I use on the majority of my face. Sometimes I mix, and it's nice to have 2 because when I am tan during the summer, I just use a little bit more of 405 instead. I do think that this is best for normal to dry skin. Oily skins won't like it because, again, it's the texture, the way this dries down on the skin. I wouldn't say it's the most moisturizing formula, even though it looks really dewy, but I highly recommend this for those of you who like a radiant, luminous, dewy finish. Most importantly though, in the summer when I'm wearing sunglasses, this is one of the few foundation formulas, probably one of the only foundation formulas that I've ever tried, and believe me, I've tried hundreds, that does not move around the eyes, around the nose when I'm wearing sunglasses. So that's why this is an indispensable foundation in my arsenal. Again, it's one of the few that lasts through any kind of humidity, any kind of hot, sticky, dry weather. I resort to this one. Just make sure for best results, you want to shake it up really, 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 really well. It will give you a little bit more coverage than the Koh Gen Do, but I wouldn't say that it even gives you medium coverage. It's definitely sheer to light. Now for the Armani Luminous Silk, which I have used and raved about for years, this is one of my go-tos because it always looks good on the skin. It looks good in person, it looks good on camera. It just works well for most women. As with all products, there will be someone that says, I don't like it, but you know, at the end of the day, when it's raved about for years, there's a reason why. And that's just because it looks so light on the skin, even though it manages to cover really well. So I would say this gives you about medium coverage, but it feels and looks like a light foundation. It is kind of on the runny side. You do want to shake this thoroughly as well, but it dries down like a serum almost. And I find that it probably works best on normal skin, but even if you're slightly dry, it works fairly well. If you have dry patches, however, it will accentuate them a little bit because I constantly suffer from extractions and facials and a little bit of trauma and peeling. I don't always wear this one right after a treatment. In general, I try to avoid foundations during those periods. Just like with the water blend, I mix two shades. I mix 4 and 6. 6 for my forehead, 4 for the rest of my face. And I love the color selection of Armani's foundations. I feel like they do the best shade range, hands down, on the market. I think this is still by far the best Armani foundation. They have a new power one out that I feel is kind of heavy, but the Luminous Silk will forever remain in my collection. I actually am showing you and have been holding up these travel size versions. Those who know me and have watched me for years know that I'm a big fan of having both travel size and full size. Seriously though, guys, for a little bit of real chat, I'm trying my best not to hoard products. I have given a lot of stuff away, donated a lot of things to my grandmother and her church friends, and I don't have a lot of foundations left. This is truly everything that I found worth keeping in my collection. All right, so if you're looking for something more like medium to medium full coverage, then definitely try Burberry's Sheer Cover. That's what it used to be called. Now it is the Fresh Glow Foundation. In this formula, I use a mix of Ochre Nude, which is 12, and Beige, which is 26. Now, when I first put Ochre Nude on the skin, it looks very, very pale, like to the point where it looks like, ooh, I probably should wash this off and use Beige by itself. But you have to give this formula about 2 minutes to oxidize. So once this warms up on my skin, it definitely matches a little bit better. It does brighten my skin, so that's why I like to add a little bit of the beige just to kind of ground that down, create that seamless, perfect color match. Anyway, I love the packaging of the Burberry foundation, but I never leave this lid on. This is just for looks. This formula is actually best, in my personal opinion, on combination to normal skin. I find that this accentuates my dry patches just a little bit. So when I use this foundation, I make sure to apply extra rich skincare under it and prime my face so that the foundation sits and looks a little bit better. This is a great long-lasting foundation that still mimics the skin's natural texture. It's not too dewy, it's not too matte, and I think that this is truly one of the best medium to medium full coverage foundations on the market. A little definitely goes a long way. One pump of this versus one pump of Luminous Silk is completely different coverage. And last but not least, to round out my favorite foundations, we have this Tom Ford waterproof foundation slash concealer in number 6 Natural, which I do use all over the face. If I want to use it as a concealer, I use Fawn, but just to be completely honest, 99% of the time, I use Cle de Peau's concealer. It is just the best. It's perfect. I can't use any other concealer because I love Cle de Peau's concealer so much. And I'm actually going to put it on for you using this new brush that I'm obsessed with. This is the Fluenta Circle 1R. Even though I would say that Tom Ford's waterproof foundation slash concealer does work as a concealer, it still doesn't hold a candle to Cle de Peau's. If I I were in a pinch and didn't have my Cle de Peau concealer, yes, I would use this. However, I like to use it all over my face, and it just gives me the most polished, full coverage look I could ask for. I almost never wear full coverage anymore, and even when I was at my Tom Ford makeover session, which was a preview for the summer 2017 Soleil collection, the makeup artist, this really handsome man, he put this on me, and he actually told me, I think his name was Aaron, he put this foundation on with the cheek brush, and he kind of just patted it into my pores, and it just created a really soft but still sheer, more like light coverage foundation look. And I was shocked because I've only ever seen this at least at medium coverage. I have a younger sister and she loves this. She used to wear the double wear until I gave her one, and she fell in love. She thinks it's the best thing that's ever happened to her complexion. I personally don't wear Estee Lauder's double wear. I do think it's a good foundation. It's definitely a more affordable option to this. It's a more traditional liquid formula, whereas this one feels a lot creamier, and when it goes on the skin it blends really easily, even though it is excellent coverage. I probably only use about half a pea size for my entire face, and yes, it works that well. It does accentuate dry patches just a touch, as you would imagine. Because it is a waterproof formula, it adheres to the skin really well. However, I do think that it would be an excellent foundation for humid weather. I'll definitely be wearing this more in the summer. Now, one word of caution when it comes to these full coverage foundations: you want to blend all the way down to your neck. This is one of the few formulas that I don't use my hands with, just because I do find that when you use your fingers, you irritate the skin just a little bit. If you have redness, if you're prone to redness, or you have rosacea or even eczema, I would not recommend using your fingertips for foundation application. Instead of a beauty blender, which I no longer really use, I still keep them, but I rarely reach for them. I've been using the Artis brushes instead. These oval synthetic fiber Artis brushes are really impressive. This is not a sponsored plug. This video is completely not sponsored, but I just find that this makes the Tom Ford foundation look extra smooth, extra even, and it prevents you from going too crazy with the coverage all at once. Because it is a semi-matte finish, it doesn't take the life out of your skin completely the way a flat matte foundation would, but because the coverage is really intense, I think it actually looks a lot more natural and a lot more polished when you keep it just below full coverage. But now that's enough talking. Let's get into the demonstration portion of this video so you can see my base in action. I wanted to show you the base alone, so I'm not wearing any blush, no bronzer. It's just concealer, my cushion, and a little bit of powder to set. And that's only because I have to make sure that my hair doesn't look greasy. Anytime my hair touches the formula of the cushion, it does transfer a little bit, so that's why I had to powder first. But as you can see, the complexion's pretty natural. This is nothing on my skin except skincare. This is with makeup, and this, again, is my bare face. So you can see my freckles, a little bit of the acne scarring. I actually don't use too much of this. I find that the coverage is very good, so that when I use a little too much, it actually looks overdone. So in general, instead of just patting gently like this, you can kind of press it in if you have pore issues, especially around the nose. And now that you can see my skin a little closer up, you'll probably see the surface dryness here around my mouth, especially from my facial. And it's natural to peel a little bit because we left on the salicylic peel a little bit longer since I had the extractions done. My esthetician wanted to make sure there would be no bacteria buildup, so she was just trying to kill all the germs. If my skin were in better condition, I definitely would have considered showing you all 5 bases on my skin, but to be honest, I've used them all at one point or another, so you definitely have seen them on me, even if you haven't seen me apply them on camera. I use a mixture of Amande on my eyes and Ochre on my face. I actually like to apply directly, and I don't use too much. You can blend out with a finger or use a brush. I just happen to like using a finger finger around the eyes just because I feel like it helps to warm up the product. Some days when I'm really pressed for time, I actually just wear the Cle de Peau Concealer on top of my sunscreen and call it a day. This is the Artis Fluenta Circle 1R. It kind of just makes everything look a little bit more diffused and that much more natural. Technically, instead of using these patting motions that I'm doing, Artis recommends you use these kind of like gliding stroking motions, but I find that works better with any kind of base product like foundation or even a cushion. But with concealer, especially on top of scars, I do find that the patting motion is still best. It's really simple, really easy. I know that you guys would probably like to see a full foundation tutorial eventually, and I would love to show you guys that with the Tom Ford, just because it's a completely different look than I normally wear in my videos. So this is the Cushion and Cle de Peau Concealer without powder. Again, this side is powdered, this side is not. It looks a little bit more matte on this side at the moment because this side has been powdered for a little bit, so this side will have to just catch up. My natural oils will come through to the surface, and the oils in the cushion do help with that dewy look as well. Here's an extremely crazy close-up, and my contacts are Fresh Look Color Blends in brown, I think. I know for sure it's called brown. All right, everyone, I hope you guys found that helpful and a little bit more revealing. My skin is improving, but with all these treatments that I've been trying to do a little bit more aggressively, my skin is sometimes drier than others. So that's why in my vlogs, most of the time I'm not wearing makeup because I'm trying to let my skin recover as much as possible. Plus, with all the working out and all the sweating and stuff, it definitely isn't helping my congested issue here. As many of you know, I am going to Paris and London and Portland this month, so I will be traveling, I will be filming vlogs. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what's coming up on the channel, and I also wanted to take this opportunity to ask you guys if you want to see me working out, if you guys want to see me cooking, please leave your requests down below and I'll try to get those filmed for you when I get back from my travels. Thanks always for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.